Consider a ship full of pirates, riches, jewels, gold, and silver that would astonish the eyes. The vessel was called White Galley, and the fate of one night it was permanently submerged in the depths of the sea no one knew for. Centuries where all of this treasure was lost. However, now that the game has evolved, contemporary technology scans with deep penetration, and Rick Laganina's perseverance has brought back this enigma. Consider Rick shaking the world through his Oak Island discovery, now arrived at Cape Cod seas. He discovered something that was left there. The crew was out of breath. The real-time cameras were active. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the screen. The feed abruptly stopped. After a few minutes, it returned. The faces of Rick and his group have altered. Astonishment in their gaze, quiet on their lips. What did they observe? Did the centuries-old treasure actually show up? Or is it a secret being concealed from the world? Already, the internet is a sensation. According to some, it is the gem of the Knights of Templar. According to some, it's a relic that will alter the course of history. However, this is where you'll find the actual solution. Video. Thus, pay attention because what is upcoming revelation will blow your mind. Indeed, if you wish to avoid missing the next chapter in this incredible tale of Cape Cod and the island, then subscribe, click the bell symbol right now, as the true secret is only getting started. Simply consider the early 1700s. One name that echoes throughout the ocean, Bellamy, the pirate. Additionally, people nicknamed Prince of Pirates. His largest ship, the White Galley, was his strength. This was not a typical vessel, but among the greatest slave vessels in existence at the time, which later Bellamy took over. When he took control of the ship and used it as his flagship. What's intriguing now is that Sam Bellamy wasn't just any thief. He was so witty and endearing that hundreds gathered around him. Beneath his flag, Witty's name grew so terrifying. In the sea where a lot of ships would give up without resisting the sound. Following, a lot of stuff were loaded with each attack. On Wida, jewels, jewelry, silver, gold, firearms, cannons, and valuable items. Over time, this vessel transformed into a floating treasure. However, destiny altered the course of events for Wida as well as Bellamy. The year was 1717. A horrible storm developed close to Cape Cod. The sea's waves were so powerful that even the most resilient ship would shudder. The White Galley became trapped in that storm. The ship allegedly broke and went down in the ocean, taking it with it. Additionally, Sam Bellamy and his 140 friends drowned amid death's depths. This is where the centuries-old mystery started, since the riches contained within this. The ship was now buried deep in the ground. According to estimates, there was millions of dollars worth of gold and silver dollars and innumerable jewels found on the Wida. This explains why for 300 years, archaeologists, treasure seekers, and explorers continued to look for this ship. Everyone continued to speculate that if the White Galley is discovered, it will not only disclose the treasure, but also the largest historical reality. Even now, when Whitta's name is mentioned, eyes light up, is brought up. Lost pirate tales, hidden secrets, treasure legends, and are associated with this vessel. And now, as Rick Laganina explores the interior, the tension on Cape Cod is just intensified. Is the Whitta's treasure about to be disclosed at last? Or will this secret always be kept a secret? The link with Rick Laganina. Upon hearing Oak Island's name, a single face comes to treasure seekers' minds globally: Laganina, Rick. For the previous few years, he and his Marty, brother, has been attempting to figure out Oak Island's enigma. They have spent numerous millions of dollars, devices, and the majority of their resides there. Every season, each and every digging, each bore hole, and each has participated in Rick's perseverance and enthusiasm. Rick's identity today is not restricted to only a treasure hunter or explorer hunter. He is referred to as the man who never give up. If caves collapse periodically, tunnels brimming with either the government arrives or water is found between, and issues of prohibition, Rick always gets back up, and this is his greatest area of expertise. Now, the query is, when Oak Island's riddle is still unfinished, so why did does Cape Cod receive any attention? In fact, in the course of the Oak Island excavation, numerous similar clues and symbols were discovered. It indicated the Templar, old pirate origins, and knights, numerous according to historians. The treasure was not just Oak Island. Pirates as well as the riches of secret groups have been buried at various locations. Additionally, the largest this Cape Cod was the clue. History reveals that ships like the Whydah Galley's journey had a direct line of communication with the North Atlantic. That includes Oak Island, as well as the Cape Cod was included in that marine path. Rick feared that the Oak Island's discoveries and the White Ollie's treasures were most likely connected by a deep link. This was the rationale behind his decision to delve into Cape Cod's waters. Rick thought that if Oak Island has a strong connection to pirates or Templars, then the reality of Cape Cod's hidden treasure can finish the entire narrative. Additionally, if this occurs, then it won't be only a treasure hunt. Nonetheless, it will resemble changing the course of history. Cape Cod's use of contemporary technology. Let's now discuss the mission that everyone was shaken. Rick used more sophisticated machinery on Cape Cod compared to the Oak Island technology. Initially, sonar technology arrived. It functions with underwater sound waves that map things. Where the group employed sonar, at the bottom, odd shapes were visible of the ocean. In certain sections, a lengthy structure, occasionally a circular chamber-like configuration, and in certain lays a big metal object down. Then arrived magnetometers and ground scanning. These devices identify the existence of metal. What a marvel it was! The skin made it evident that it was more than just sand and stones, but massive metal fragments were submerged beneath the sea. The group believed that this might be a component of White Galley. However, the most thrilling, Rick used underwater to create the scene. Drones. These tiny drones that resemble robots lowered cameras into the depths. And my brother, the video that they captured leaving everyone gasping for air. The drone's a portion of a ship was clearly seen on the camera. Composed of metal and wood, it was totally shattered, but it retained the appearance of a pirate vessel. An odd metal piece was discovered close to the vessel on which they were carved with unidentified symbols. Additionally, the suspense started with the piece. The group was taken aback due to it makes sense that the ship's wreckage to a certain degree. However, how did this metal does a piece with symbols make it there? Was it a relic of Bellamy the pirate, or the hidden emblem of a covert organization such as Oak Island? Rick himself fell silent. For a short while after viewing this scene, the same gleam was seen in his eyes. As was the case during the cross, the artifact was initially discovered on Oak Island. Like he'd done it again, discovered a new component for a large puzzle of past. The other members of the team were also startled. According to some, it was a section of the ship. Some people were making assumptions. Maybe it might be a treasure's lid, chest, with others even claiming that this might be the entrance to a hidden room. This is where the true tension began, since if this was actually a component of the treasure, would then be in a White Galley, be close by. However, if these signs were linked to a different secret, then the narrative might extend beyond Oak Island and become a worldwide mystery. The enigma of cutting the live transmission. Just consider it was all going live. Rick Lagina was with his group in the Cape Cod's depths. Drones operating underwater were visible everywhere. Moment captured on film. Millions of individuals looked at the television, curious to see what was to emerge from this mission. It was all going so well. The drone passed above the broken A section of the ship, and all of a sudden, dark screen. Indeed, abruptly, the live feed was stopped. No image, no music, simply a screen that is black. Initially, they believed perhaps there was a technical issue. However, as the minutes went by, the tension grew. A commotion occurred in the social media and a conversation box. What occurred? What caused the camera to stop working? Did the group see anything that is it impossible to show? People waited impatiently for almost 5 minutes, after which the feed returned. However, the scene that was observed this time, which increased the mystery even more. Rick and his whole group were standing above the water on the ship. The faces of all were altered. Nobody was talking, but there was no sound. Rick's gaze possessed a faint sheen. But fear was also evident, as though he had witnessed something below that. Everyone might be taken aback, that the audience was taken aback, if there was just the ship's wreckage below. So why did the team remain so quiet? Additionally, if when a large object was discovered, why was it concealed from the public? This was the point at which this finding even more enigmatic. Initial hints and artifacts, the live stream resumed, and this duration of the drone's camera recording a few oddities. The first item, there was a sliver of metal visible, but this piece was not your typical one. There was engraved with odd marks. It appeared as though symbols had been created, and designs on it. A few of the marks were similar to crosses, some of which had round forms, and some had lines connecting them, such as a map. The group saw right away that these were not your typical symbols. Pirate mark. Actually, a lot of these designs that corresponded with the oak symbolism island. When Rick saw this, his expression turned even more grave. He was aware that when the symbols aligned, the connection between Oak Island and Cape Cod were real places. The drone then took a slight diversion, then revealed another odd fragment hidden close to the ship in the beach. It appeared similar to a chest component, such as a lid or edge. And what was unique was that additionally, it has embossed designs. One of them had a striking resemblance to a map, as though the location had been engraved. Of the wealth found there, everybody's breath ceased. According to Rick, this is not simply metal, it's a statement. The viewers also stooped and began examining the television screen. Everyone was attempting to recognize that map-like layout. However, the attention didn't stop here. Immediately after the drone took a closer look, another thing surfaced from the gloom. A peek into a closed room. That location appeared entirely different from the others. There was a similar round, sealed building between the wood fragments and stones. Immediately after, when the drone's light struck it, it turned into evident that it resembled a door or a vault. It was covered in a heavy covering, however, observing the form. It appeared as if there was something concealed beneath it. There was a stir on the team. Is this the same location as the true treasure was stored? Or is this a room that's hidden, was closed on purpose? Rick was simply silently observing the screen. Curiosity and suspense were evident in his eyes. He only told his crew this. If this is open, everything will be different. Reactions on social media and fan theories. When word spread that this finding of when Cape Cod was released, the web was roused. Long threads began to appear on Reddit. According to some, Rick Lagina has at last discovered the true pirate loot, although some were asserting that this entire finding is a component of a large conspiracy. Hashtags like his number CAPECODT or EASU or E along with our ICKLAGINAEXPLORA is the number on Twitter. TION began to trend. The atmosphere was different on YouTube. Treasure-seeking experts channels were discussing the meaning of the symbols meant by the drone. Some individuals were claiming that the marks were pirated. Bellamy created those covert signs and his team. However, a lot of admirers thought that those symbols represented something much more than common pirates. A Reddit post that went viral stated rather plainly, "This is a direct link to Templar treasure and Oak Island." Some were writing that the authorities purposefully closed the live feed. According to them, something is discovered below, which may pose a risk to disclose to the world. The hypothesis of cover-up is widespread and real. Individuals stated that if it was only the remains of a ship, so what would make the team so quiet? And whether the signs are actually pertaining to any secret order or Templar, then, of course, it must be concealed. However, a significant number of many supporters were ecstatic. They sensed that the enigma of Oak's Puzzle Island would soon be finished. Someone posted on Twitter that Oak Island was simply the starting. The final destination is Cape Cod. That was the level of tension on social media. Grew to the point where everyone was incorporating the narrative in their own manner. A few treasure was being discussed by some about historical artifacts, and some regarding governments and secret groups. What is the reality? Time will tell. However, it's obvious that this revelation rocked the way people think. Potential association with Knights of the Templar Order. Let's now discuss the relationship that increased the explosiveness of this finding. Numerous symbols were discovered early in the Oak Island's excavation, similar to a stone in the shape of a cross, odd triangle marks, and ancient signs concealed within caverns. All of these were frequently connected to the Knights of Templar. This was identical. Alleged secret order that has concealed the Ark of Covenant, the Holy Grail, and several holy relics. The question that now emerges is whether the Cape Cod symbols can be those identical Templars. The metal fragments and shapes that resemble maps that the drone displayed were strikingly alike. On to the Oak Island emblems. If this is the case, why wasn't a galley a typical pirate vessel? Numerous historians think that pirates weren't only lutters. A few of them were connected with covert organizations. Sam Bellamy is thought to have because he and other pirate captains had not only silver and gold, but also unique shipment consisting of linked artifacts to a different culture or religion order. Here is where this theory excels. Momentum. White Galley was a pirate, right? Ship. Or was that a covert transfer vessel, where the Templar artifacts were knights being transported? Now consider, Cape Cod and Oak Island are both under the Atlantic. If the treasure, or it was necessary to conceal artifacts and protect it. So why would the Templars, in not using them, their fellow pirates' locations. The Oak Island Traverse, as well as the symbols on Cape Cod, collectively convey the same narrative, that there is more to cherish than just gold and silver. Rick Lagina most likely thinks the same. The gleam in his eyes was distinct upon seeing the symbols, as though he was aware that they were fragments of the riddle. He has been trying to solve Oak Island for many years. If this theory is correct, proves to be accurate, the finding of Cape Cod will be more than just it will demonstrate that the pirate ship was lost. The Templar Knight's treasure is actually dispersed across the depths of the Atlantic. The question at hand is whether Rick and his group are actually about to discovering the Templars' richest nights. Only gold and silver are there, buried in something like white Augie artifacts that have the power to alter the whole history of humanity. And the most important query, will the world be made aware of this fact, or will the government and the private sector, our organization, suppressing it again? The government's interest in historians. As soon as this is announced, Cape Cod's discovery spread, everyone fell silent. Initially, American archaeologists. In most cases, whenever a shipwreck or when an artifact is discovered, archaeologists publicly make statements. Press conferences are held. They pull out research papers. Just silence, though, this time. Not really big assertion, without any verified data. This quiet brings up the most query. Are archaeologists aware before Rick Lagina and his team there, the crew has found something? It is improper to bring such to the general public. Or do they have their hands bound? Pressure from the government. Individuals on social media makes it apparent that all of these is a cover-up by the government. In fact, though the American law makes it quite evident that the government claims on shipwrecks are common and items discovered in the ocean. Specifically, despite the discovery of treasure, the crew cannot publicly display it. This is most likely the explanation for why the live stream was also halted abruptly. A lot of folks are also stating that in the event that the symbols indeed pertaining to any secret order or Templar, then releasing them to the public can be hazardous. Consider what would happen if the world understanding that Templar warriors had interred religious artifacts or treasures at both Cape Cod and Oak Island. Next, the whole it will be necessary to rewrite history texts. And maybe this is what the major powers are doing. Do not approve of. The quiet of historians also raise questions. Numerous large specialists that the media consistently consults this time. The quotes are quiet as though they understand that there would be a commotion if the perhaps. This is the reason why the truth comes out. The administration is gradually addressing this case that it manages. Discussions on a ban or restrictions have already begun to appear. The query now is all of this taking place in order for only chosen individuals to view the artifacts and treasure? Well, the general is not aware of the truth. Forever in the public eye, the tension increases. In this place, climax, Rick's assertion. In the middle of all the chaos, and after much conjecture, Rick Lagina arrived ahead. Reporters questioned him directly. Query, below, what did you see? Have you actually located the treasure? Rick, as usual, he responded calmly, although everyone was shaken by the statements. This is, he said, only the start. Having stated this, Rick fell silent, without going into too much detail, nothing more than just for words. However, these four phrases sparked thousands of inquiries. People began to wonder if, since this is only the start, what will happen next? Is the true treasure not yet contacted? Or has Rick noticed anything that the public will learn about world slowly? There was an odd assurance on Rick's face at that moment, as though he was aware that he possessed something significant. But he also realized that there was no way to openly express the truth at this moment. That one line in the silence raised the suspenseful. The remaining members of the team members kept the same tone as well. Nobody spoke, although it was obvious from their body language and eyes that below, something had been discovered that had everyone was taken aback by this statement. Reached a climax and people began talking about this overnight. What is only the be? And about this overnight. What is only the be? Beginning. Mean? Well, Rick linked the two Oak Island gems. And Cape Cod? Is the true enigma surrounding to happen right now? Or is this all a clue towards a greater mystery? This is where the suspenseful pause occurs. Rick's this little statement and the silence are the greatest indication of the days ahead. Be prepared if he is informing the world. The true disclosure has not yet occurred. Unresolved issues. Now, the largest, what exactly did Rick Lagina and what does his crew see in Cape Cod's depths? The sealed chambers and symbols found was at the actual door to the cameras? Was it merely a broken treasure? Component of the ship? Consider this. if wealth had indeed been discovered, would Rick and the group have maintained such quiet? Or is this quiet evidence that they have discovered something that isn't displayed to the world at this moment? This is a question that fans keep asking. This is actually the pirates' lost riches. Is it some archaic Sam Bellamy room where secrets have been for centuries, hidden? On Twitter and Reddit, users are even claiming that the actual video was most likely kept secret from the general public. Is that what we were shown is not the complete truth? Do treasure chests exist? Are there artifacts, or are they lying exposed below, which have a direct connection to the mystery of Oak Island? The rundown of questions, the length of the questions is increasing. Has a treasure been discovered? Or have we merely did White Galley have any clues? Was she a pirate, ship, or transport vessel that additionally held antiquated relics? Are the institutions and the government purposefully concealing the truth? These inquiries raise this hunt is more thrilling because up until when the solution is discovered, the tension will deepen. Plans and risks for the future. Rick Laganina's squad never gives up so effortlessly. The Oak Island search has demonstrated that know of how challenging it is that Rick always returns and leaves deeper. The same strategy is now in use. For Cape Cod, the next dive the team does will be considerably riskier than previously, since they must now do more than just go near the ship's wreckage, but also get at the confined compartment. Won't be simple. The subterranean tunnel can suddenly collapse underwater. Water pressure and powerful waves can also prove to be lethal. The danger is not just both human and natural. If there are truly valuable items or relics there, then the government could step in and impose restrictions. The entire location. Rick and the group have limited time. Thus, they will need to discover concrete evidence on the upcoming expedition. If not, everything could be lost. Is the cause of the team's current departure to use contemporary technology? The manner in which they employ ground penetration Oak Island's radar and 3D scans are now. Even more sophisticated technology will arrive. Moan is the most well-known name in Cape Cod. Scans, with the use of this technology, full underwater blueprint cosmic ray-based structures. In other words, if a secret vault or room exists below, after which a Moan scan will reveal it clearly. 3D mapping will also provide the team a detailed map showing the locations of vacant area beneath the ship and where the risk of collapse exists. Rick, as he has stated, we are only on the currently surface. The actual search will start when we dig deeper. This demonstrates that this journey is not yet finished. However, the actual conflict has only barely started. Will the team be able to answer this question? To risk everything? Will the treasure truly come to light during the subsequent dive? Or will there be any further mysteries? Fans are currently impatiently awaiting. Everyone is curious about what was sealed. Chamber is concealed. Thus, sir, now that you are facing the most important question, what did his team and Rick Laganina observe? Deep within Cape Cod, those metal parts, those symbols, and that enclosed space that produced the most tension. Is this all a sinking, or is there a centuries-old ship? Treasure concealed beneath it that can change the course of history? Imagine if pirate the treasure of Sam Bellamy has been discovered. Then it will be the most significant finding, eternity. However, if Templar artifacts, there are knights or religious mysteries within it, followed by the historical records of the entire universe will shift. This tension is dragging everyone along. It's your time now. What are your thoughts? What did Rick and his group observe down below? Cape Cod's treasure is truly going to be made public, or will the authorities and forever hidden by secret societies? If you additionally, I don't want to miss the following section of this enigma, then sign up right away and click the bell symbol, since this trip of Rick Laganina is only getting started. What will be revealed during the upcoming dive? That reality will surpass your capacity. Imagine. Your capacity. Imagine.